Your brain feels slower than it used to. You can't focus like you could 5 years ago. Reading something dense feels like wading through mud. You walk into a room and forget why. And here's the kicker. You're not aging out. You're atrophying out. Your mind is literally getting weaker because you've stopped using it, and every day of passive scrolling is making it worse. I'm going to break down exactly how mental atrophy happens and give you the reversal protocol. 4 specific practices that rebuild your cognitive strength from the ground up. This isn't about brain games or supplements. It's about progressive cognitive load, the same way you'd rebuild muscle after months in bed. Let's get into it. The atrophy mechanism, here's what's happening in your skull right now. Every time you choose scrolling over thinking, you're teaching your brain it doesn't need to work anymore. Your neural pathways are like trails through a forest. Use them, and they stay clear. Ignore them, and they disappear under weeds and brush. You're not losing brain cells from scrolling. You're losing the connections between them. Think about the last time you had to figure something out without Googling it immediately. Painful, right? That pain is atrophy. Your problem-solving muscles have gone soft. You used to read books and hold complex ideas in your head for hours. Now you can barely make it through a long email without checking your phone. That's not attention span issues. That's cognitive decay from disuse. Your brain operates on use it or lose it. When you replace active thinking with passive consumption, your prefrontal cortex literally shrinks. The part of your brain responsible for deep thought, planning, and focus gets smaller. Meanwhile, your limbic system, the part that craves instant gratification, gets stronger. You're rewiring yourself for weakness. Practice 1. Forced recall sessions. Every morning, spend 10 minutes reconstructing something complex from memory. Not reviewing it. Reconstructing it. Pick something you learned yesterday. A conversation you had, an article you read, a problem you solved at work. Close your eyes and rebuild it from scratch in your mind. Every detail you can grab. This feels brutal at first, because your recall muscles are shot. You'll grasp at fog. You'll get frustrated. That frustration is the weight on the bar. That's what builds strength. Your brain is scrambling to pull information from long-term storage, and every scramble strengthens those retrieval pathways. Here are some examples of what to reconstruct. Do this with a work project. Reconstruct the entire problem and solution without looking at notes. Do it with a podcast. Replay the core arguments in your head. Do it with yesterday. What actually happened, hour by hour, without checking your calendar or photos. The act of forcing your brain to work without external crutches rebuilds your cognitive endurance. Practice 2. Problem solving before information. Here's the rule. Before you Google anything, spend 5 minutes trying to figure it out yourself. You need to fix something. Before you watch the tutorial, sit with the problem. Look at it. Think through possible solutions. Be wrong in your head first. This sounds inefficient. And it is. That's the point. Efficiency is killing your brain. When you immediately outsource every problem to the internet, you never exercise your reasoning muscles. Your brain learns it doesn't need to generate solutions anymore. It just needs to search for them. Here are some practical examples. You're cooking and don't know what temperature. Guess first. Think about what you know about meat, heat, time. Be wrong. Then look it up. You're having a disagreement and can't remember the fact. Try to reconstruct the logic first. Work backwards from what you know. Then verify. This builds your capacity to think independently, to generate answers instead of just consuming them. The gap between problem and solution is where your mind gets strong. You keep collapsing that gap to zero with instant information. Stretch it back out. Make your brain sweat before you give it the answer. Practice 3. Analog deep work blocks. 1 hour a day. No screens. One cognitively demanding task. Reading something dense. Writing something long. Working through a problem on paper. Planning something complex. The rules. No phone. No computer. No music with words. No interruptions. Just you and the hardest mental work you can do. Your brain has forgotten how to sustain attention on one difficult thing. You've trained it to expect dopamine hits every few minutes. This practice reverses that. The first week feels like torture. Your brain will beg for stimulation. It'll tell you you're bored, that you need to check something, that this isn't working. Ignore it. By week 3, something shifts. You'll notice you can hold complex thoughts longer. You can read a difficult paragraph and actually absorb it instead of skimming and rereading 5 times. You can write without stopping every 2 sentences to look something up. This is your cognitive endurance rebuilding. Start with 30 minutes if an hour feels impossible. But protect it viciously. No exceptions. This is your mental weight training. You wouldn't skip leg day and expect strong legs. Don't skip deep work and expect a strong mind. Practice 4. Explanation without reference. Once a week, explain something complex to someone without any notes or looking anything up. Pick a concept you know well, or think you know well. Your job. A book you read. How something works. A problem you solved. Explain it out loud, completely from memory, in a way someone else would understand. This exposes the gaps in your understanding immediately. You thought you knew it, but you can't explain it. That's shallow learning, surface-level consumption that never integrated. True understanding means you can reconstruct the idea from scratch and make someone else understand it. Here are some ways to practice this. Do this with your partner over dinner. Explain your work project. Do it recording a voice memo to yourself. Explain that article you read. Do it with a friend. Teach them something you learned this week. The act of explaining forces your brain to organize information, find connections, and generate clarity. That's high-level cognitive work. You'll stumble. You'll realize you don't actually understand what you thought you understood. Perfect. That feedback loop is what builds real comprehension. Your brain learns it needs to process deeply, not just consume passively, because it knows it'll have to reproduce this information later. The compound effect. Here's what happens when you do this for 30 days. Your focus gets sharper. You can read difficult material without your mind wandering every paragraph. You solve problems faster because your brain remembers how to generate solutions. You remember conversations and details without checking your phone. You feel mentally alive again. This isn't motivation. This is mechanics. You're rebuilding cognitive capacity through progressive load. Same as muscle. You're forcing your brain to do hard things consistently until hard things become normal things. The weakness you feel right now isn't permanent. It's just atrophy from disuse. Every day you choose passive consumption over active thinking, you get weaker. Every day you choose these practices, you get stronger. Your mind is either growing or dying. There's no maintenance mode. You're either building trails or watching them disappear. Start with one practice. Pick the one that sounds most doable. Do it today. Do it tomorrow. Do it until it stops feeling impossible and starts feeling normal. Then add another. Your mind gets weaker every day. You do nothing. It gets stronger every day you do something. The reversal protocol isn't complicated. It's just consistently choosing the hard cognitive work over the easy cognitive escape. That choice, repeated, rebuilds everything.